Sure, take your time.
Testing. Oh,
How do I do it?
testing.
You good? Okay. Hello, Sharks. First, I'd like to thank you all for being here today and taking the time out of your schedule because I know that you are all very busy individuals, and for you to be here today, I appreciate that. My name is Leo, and today I'm super excited to bring to you guys Copilot by Clary for Cvent. But before I start, I want to ask us all a question. How many of us remember learning to ride a bike? Cool. Now, you probably remember how you felt. Maybe a little shaky, maybe you had a few falls, but not because you weren't capable, but because in the moment that you needed it, you weren't able to receive the live support that you needed. Now, hold on to that feeling because that's exactly the same feeling that new reps go through on live calls when they hit their first live objections. They freeze, not because they're not capable, because they don't have the support that they need in the moment they need it. Copilot is an AI powered dynamic call assistant built to be that guide, not after the fact, but live when they need it most. So I'll quickly run through what I'll be talking to today. And I'll start off with the problem. And this is an expensive and real one that plays out on the sales floor daily. From there, I'll take us to the opportunity that hides within inside that problem. Then I'll talk about the solution that's going to help us bring those opportunities to life. Then I'll talk about the financial justification and why it's worth your investment. Then I'll leave you all with some key takeaways from today. And finally, I will open up the floor for any questions that you might all have for me. Oh. So starting with the problem, and it's as simple as this, and this is what I've heard from sales managers internally and from firsthand experience on the sales floor myself. And it's SDRs and AMAs losing out on meetings due to ineffective objection handling. And I'll preface this by saying that it's usually at the feet of newer reps. Industry-wide and here at Cvent, we have a 1 to 2% success rate on cold calls, meaning that 1 to 2 out of every 100 dials ends up becoming a set for us. That's an extremely low margin for error, and we can't afford to lose opportunities due to reps fumbling on live calling. Number two, new reps ramping slower because on one hand, can we understand where reps are at in their career, it being an entry-level role and this being a new task for them? Absolutely. But on the other, we're still burning through very real leads during this time. And why is this even more important? Because we work in tech sales and we work at Cvent. We're constantly trying to innovate and we're constantly introducing new things. And it's an industry that has very high rates of attrition for all sorts of reasons, whether it's new reps leaving for that fancy OTE at that tech startup, or burning out from cold calling, or simply leaving for a bigger logo, right? Keeping Cvent in this consistent cycle of attrition where we're onboarding reps and going through these growing pains. And that leads me to the opportunity because if we can equip reps in the moment live when they need it on these calls, not only are we going to help them be more successful on calls, but we're going to increase our pipeline retention by saving these deals at the very beginning of these sales cycles. We're going to increase cold call conversion rates because every single dial is an investment. When you think about what goes behind every call with a reps-based pay, tools that we pay for, like Salesforce, SalesLoft, Zoom Info. Every single dial is an investment, and it's time for us to start getting more back on that investment. Number three, reducing coaching bottlenecks, because right now, coaching happens before the call and it happens after the call, but it never happens live when we need it most as reps. And number four, maximizing deal size. Because when reps have the confidence to push through multiple objections on a call effectively, they're not just setting more meetings, but they're qualifying more effectively, leading to more valuable and larger opportunities inside the pipeline. Now that leads me to the solution, and that's Copilot by Clary. And I'll take us all back to that moment that I was talking about earlier when you were learning to ride your bike. Because what if you had a guide? What if you had someone in your ear in the moment you needed it telling you, lean this way, or pedal harder now, right? That's exactly what Copilot does for our reps on live calls, and this is how it does it. Through real-time objection battle cards, instantly curated to the prospect and the situation, given the context of the call and the prospect, through live call monitoring by detecting key phrases and objections like not interested or too busy or just send me an email. And this is a big one, talk tracks based on buyer personas, because as Cvent reps, we talk into all different types of people, from VPs to event planners and event marketers. And we want to make sure that we have a personalized outreach to each individual persona. And a very important one, ease of integration, because like I mentioned earlier, as Cvent reps, we live in all different types of tools like ZoomInfo, Salesforce, and SalesLoft. Copilot integrates seamlessly with all of these. Now for the financial justification, because Sharks, today I'm asking you for a $274,000 investment, and I've clearly stated some of my assumptions here on the left side, but I expect a 20% increase in cold call conversion rate from implementing Copilot. And on its face, that means that instead of setting one meeting for every 100 dials, we're now setting 1.2 meetings for every 100 dials. And on its face, that might not seem like a significant stat, but that bears out to an additional 394 meetings a month. And let's assume that 15% of our opportunities turn into closed won deals. And that's based on 2024 data. That's an additional 59 deals a month. And at an average deal size of $10,000, you're talking about an annual revenue impact of $7.104 million. Shrugs, let me say that one more time. Your $274,000 investment yields you a $7.104 million return on that investment. That's a break-even timeline of less than a month and a 26 times return on your investment. Copilot is not just a good investment, it's a no-brainer. And if you leave with anything today, let these be your key takeaways. Number one, at Cvent, we are missing out on revenue opportunities, mostly at the feet of new reps ineffectively handling objections. Number two, Copilot is the solution to that problem by offering the reps the support they need in the moments that they need it most. And number three, when you see how the numbers bear out and you see how Copilot can affect the business, it really becomes a no-brainer of an investment. So now I'll open up the floor for any questions that you might all have for me.
Question, Leo, on the, so this real-time coaching and objection handling, and then you've got personas. Is that just too much for a rep to digest in the moment? Like you're trying to have a conversation, but you're trying to pay attention to a persona, or you're trying to pay attention to what you're being told to do in terms of handling the objection?
That's a great question, DG, but that's one of the best aspects about Copilot. You're able to upload and integrate all that data about the prospect, and it gets situational context during the call to make sure that the rep doesn't have to have any extra platform hopping. It integrates automatically with the tools that we already live in, like Salesforce, meaning that there's no extra distractions, simply those curated objections that we need live when we need it most.
Great presentation. I have
Thank
a couple questions. The first is, and apologies, this is the first time I've asked this question, but I've been thinking it a lot. What is the investment that Cvent has to make besides dollars to get something like this working? Right? So it's not like, again, you don't just plug none of these things. I've implemented literally almost 20 pieces of tech. Like there's nothing that you just turn on, actually, with the exception of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, there's nothing that you just turn on and it works, right? They always need a lift. So explain to me what resources I have to invest as somebody that literally would implement this in terms of internally to get something like this off the ground.
Sure. So obviously in terms of capital, I elicited that number, the $274,000 original investment. But besides the money, your question, right?
I'm not talking about
You're
that.
talking about the time it takes to get reps adjusted to this program. And that kind of goes into the implementation of it. I think that it would start with an Ignite class and you really would just track their performance against prior classes and say, okay, are they actually more successful on the phones? Are they setting more meetings? Would it take time? Yes, it would. But I think that that time is valuable when you can extrapolate that across multiple hiring classes and see the impact it has.
Okay, so that's not really what I was asking, but you're right. So that's right. What I was thinking is like, in order for this thing to actually work and be helpful,
Mhm.
what's the time investment and the resources I have to use internally? Like how many hours, how many weeks does it take to get something like this off the ground?
Mhm.
Do you know?
No, so to be quite honest with you, I have not run any of
Okay.
those numbers in terms of the time it would take to get it up and running and get it implemented. But yeah, I mean, that's one
And
of the.
that's fair. This is actually for everybody who's listening, so I know everybody is. I think when you think about in buying some of these sales enablement pieces, there's usually a significant lift, and the more complicated and the larger your organization is, the lift is bigger.
Mhm.
So it's why we have people that do it. None of these tools, minus LinkedIn Sales Navigator, can you just start using on day one. You just can't, right? They take, you have to, like I said, you have to have a clean data source. You need to make sure that there's automation so that it can read all the right stuff and offer up the right insights at the right time. You have to test it out to make sure it's actually working the way you want.
Yeah.
So it's just something to think about. So
No, it's the right question to ask.
nothing that you did wrong, just like it's something everyone should think about with this kind of stuff. The second is why Copilot by Clary versus other real-time insight type tools that are out there.
Yeah. Well, it starts with the fact that it integrates seamlessly with the tools that we already live in. I was looking at different tools like Copilot, and another one was like Hoovoo, and even Gong pulled up, but a lot of them are really post-call analysis tools. Like we have Chorus, I know at Cvent,
Yeah.
but among the tools that do offer that support live, to me, Copilot stood out because one, they work with a lot of enterprise companies like Cvent, and two, they seem like they had the pedigree in the market, and their price, among other factors, seemed also reasonable.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Question here on the phone. You shared some ROI with us, and this is one of the questions we always get from our clients. Can you guarantee that ROI, Russ?
Yeah, I'll go back to the slide. I don't think there's any way for me to really guarantee it, but I feel like I did the best job I could here to elicit it pretty explicitly. I think that I'm assuming a rep makes an average of 55 calls a day, and that's across the company between SDRs and AMAs. We have some killers who go above and beyond that, and there's probably some people who don't meet that metric, right? But let's say that each rep does make 55 calls a day. That comes out to just under 200,000 dials a month across the company. And I do feel like I had some pretty conservative numbers. Industry-wide, it's a 1 to 2% set rate for every 100 dials. I just did 1%. I've even seen Copilot advertise a greater than 20% increase in cold call conversion rates. I stuck with a 20% increase here, and then 15% of QDS opportunities turning into deals. I also think is fair based on the data that I analyze and from help from our team here internally. So I think when you're talking about the impacts that you see right there with the $7.14 million, it's almost a conservative number. And I think that given the assumptions, which I think are fair, I think that that number is pretty solid.
Thank you for that. And out of that ROI number, did you take out investment of time, training, et cetera, that Francie was speaking about, since it's not just a turnkey process?
No, yeah, this number here simply includes the original investment to the benefit that we get from it. It does not include any of the downside from the time that it would take to get this up and running, the time that it would take us to really probably extrapolate some meaningful data from this as well. This is strictly just a numbers case here.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other last second questions? Perfect. Thank you so much, Leo. Good job.
Thank you.
Let's go.